The average American household carries about $6,000 in credit card debt. At a standard 24% APR, which is now below average, by the way, that household is paying roughly $1,440 every single year just in interest. Not principal, not purchases, pure interest. And here's what makes that number genuinely infuriating. Most of those households think they're managing their cards fine. They're making payments. They haven't missed anything. They just don't know what they don't know. And that gap between what they think is happening and what's actually happening is costing them thousands. So let's close that gap right now. The first thing you need to understand is how credit card interest is actually calculated, because it is not what most people assume. You might think interest only applies if you carry a balance past your due date. That's partially true, but the calculation method is where the trap lives. Most cards use something called average daily balance. That means interest accrues every single day based on what you owe that day. So if you made a big purchase on the first of the month and you're planning to pay it off at the end of the billing cycle, you're still being charged interest on that balance for every day it existed. The number on your statement isn't the damage, it's the daily accumulation that most people never see coming. Now let's talk about minimum payments, because this is where I've seen people genuinely devastated in slow motion. The minimum payment on most cards is calculated as either a flat fee or a small percentage of your balance, usually around 2%. That sounds manageable. But run the actual math on a $3,000 balance at 24% APR, paying only the minimum every month. You'll be paying on that balance for over 15 years. You'll pay more than $3,000 in interest alone, on top of the original $3,000 you spent. The card company isn't doing anything illegal. They're doing exactly what they designed the minimum payment system to do. It is a subscription to debt, and you opted in when you activated the card. Here's something that catches people completely off guard. Your credit score can be taking serious hits every single month, even if you never miss a payment. Credit utilization, the ratio of your current balance to your credit limit, accounts for about 30% of your FICO score. And most people don't realize that the balance reported to the credit bureaus is your statement balance, not your end-of-month balance after you pay. So if your limit is $5,000 and you spend $3,500 during the month, even if you pay the full $3,500 when the bill comes, the bureaus may have already recorded 70% utilization. The ideal threshold is under 30%. For people optimizing their scores, under 10%. Paying in full doesn't automatically fix this. The timing of when you pay matters just as much as whether you pay. Annual fees deserve a harder look than most cardholders give them. I've talked to people paying $550 a year for a premium travel card who haven't taken a flight in 18 months. The card issuers know this. The business model depends on it. Before you renew any card with an annual fee, sit down and actually add up the benefits you used in the last 12 months. Not the benefits available to you, the ones you actually used. Lounge access you didn't use, travel credits you forgot to apply, statement credits that expired, none of that counts. If the math doesn't come out ahead, you're paying for the idea of a benefit, not a benefit. Foreign transaction fees are one of the most avoidable expenses in personal finance, full stop. Most cards charge between 2.7% and 3% on every purchase made in a foreign currency, including online purchases from international retailers, which catches people completely off guard when they're sitting at home. On a $4,000 international trip, that's $120 gone for no reason whatsoever. There are dozens of cards that waive foreign transaction fees entirely, often with no annual fee. This is one of the few areas where the fix is genuinely simple. One card swap eliminates the problem permanently. Balance transfer offers are a different animal, and they require precision to actually work in your favor. The standard pitch is, move your high-interest balance to a new card, pay 0% for 12 to 21 months, get ahead of your debt. That works. But only if you understand two things. First, there's almost always a balance transfer fee, typically 3% to 5% of the amount you move. On $5,000, that's up to $250 added to your balance on day one. Second, and this is the part that blindsides people, if you don't pay off the full transferred balance before the promotional period ends, the deferred interest on many cards gets applied retroactively to your entire original balance at the standard rate. You end up owing more than if you'd never transferred at all. Balance transfers are a tool. Like any tool, They can build something, or they can cause damage depending on how precisely you use them. There's a grace period mechanic that most card holders don't fully understand, and losing it is easier than you'd think. Your grace period, the window between your statement closing date and your payment due date where no interest accrues on new purchases, only applies if you paid your previous statement balance in full. The moment you carry any balance forward, even a small one, you lose the grace period on new purchases. They start accruing interest immediately, from the day of purchase. So someone who carries a $200 balance and then puts $2,800 more on the card that month is paying daily interest on all $2,000 from day one. Paying that $200 off completely, even if you have to scramble to do it, resets the clock. Rewards point devaluation is something the card issuers never send a press release about, but it happens constantly. Airlines and hotel programs quietly reduce the value of points, increasing the points required for a redemption, limiting available inventory, adding fees. If you're sitting on 200,000 airline miles thinking that's a guaranteed first-class ticket to Europe someday, that redemption may have already gotten significantly harder than it was 2 years ago. Points are not a savings account. They're a perishable asset that someone else controls the value of. Redeeming sooner rather than later, especially for high-value redemptions you've identified and planned, is almost always the right move. One more that carries real risk. Adding someone as an authorized user on your card, or being added to someone else's, creates a financial entanglement that most people don't think through. The primary cardholder is legally responsible for every charge, regardless of who made it. And depending on the card issuer, both the primary cardholder's behavior and the authorized user's behavior may appear on both credit reports. A family member who maxes out the card, misses payments, or triggers a default can directly damage your credit history. It goes both directions. The relationship feels like trust. The credit reporting system treats it like shared liability. Now here's the single behavioral shift that eliminates a significant portion of these problems immediately. Set up automatic payments for your full statement balance. Not the minimum, not a fixed amount. The full statement balance. Scheduled 3 to 4 days before your due date. Not the day of. 3 to 4 days before, to account for processing time. This one scheduling adjustment eliminates interest charges, protects your grace period, avoids late fees, and removes the entire psychological burden of manually managing due dates every month. It costs nothing. It takes about 4 minutes to set up. And it's the kind of thing that, once you understand why you're doing it, you genuinely can't believe you weren't doing already. The banks aren't hiding this information, but they're certainly not going out of their way to explain it clearly. Every one of these mechanics is buried somewhere in your cardholder agreement in language designed to be technically accurate and practically incomprehensible. That's not an accident. Your job is to know your own money better than the institution holding it. Because the moment you do, the game changes completely. And it changes in your favor.